Hey everybody, and welcome to another Game Passionate gameplay video. This time we're going to be doing some chores on the Spritfarer vessel with Stella the Spritfarer and her cat Daffodil. I'm Top Shelf Toy. So I'm not going to be showing all of the chores that you do and have to do on the vessel, because there's a lot, and some of them are actually more like time-consuming ones, like plant this and come back later. I chose these ones because, I don't know, I really like the art, and I thought they'd be a good showcase of just how pretty and fun this game is to play. I just jumped out of the kitchen there, and that is one of the primary spots. Eventually you get things like a cow and sheep on your ship, and you can do things like feed them and milk them, or in the sheep's case, you shear them for wool. It's awesome. The kitchen is one of the coolest features, and one of the ones that you get very early on. You have to cook for everybody that comes through, so you want to be sure that you upgrade it and make it as hospitable as possible. Next, we're on to the loom. You actually will take linen fiber and put thread together. You know, you make a fiber into fabric, and you have various different types of that type of material that you need to spin on the loom to make this fabric. So it's a fun little mini game option as well. Next up, it's the lumber mill. You do end up having to cut a fair amount of wood in this game after you take the trees down, and this is how you do it. I probably should have picked a different log than the ash log. That's probably the more advanced one, but you can get the general concept. They have basically like a perforated line, and you're supposed to move the saw blade along that line to get the most efficient cut and the most planks out of each log that goes through. Of course, in real life, lumber mills, you want to make a straight cut all the way across, but, you know, video games. Alright, this brings us to the windmill, and this is one of the biggest, or at least tallest structures I feel like you get on the ship as you play through the game. The windmill itself is literally that. It's not just catching wind, it's helping you mill some of your products. So, on the bottom there is where they come out, but in the meantime you have to load it. In this case, we're going to be putting some, I believe, wheat in. One of the other things the windmill has to do is catch the wind. Up at the top floor here, you have to make sure that that open spot matches with wherever the little pinwheel is to show that you're catching the wind properly. And as you can see, once you do, the wheel is turning and it's actually spinning on the inside with that mechanism. Now that it's a little bit of time has passed, you'll notice that it's no longer spinning. You might think that's because it's done, but in reality it means that the position of the boat has moved out of the position of the wind. So, as I go up to check on the oven here, I'm like, well, have they done it? Oh no, there's still a few things in here. Oh, I see, it hasn't finished milling. So, I have to move that center piece up to where the pinwheel is. You can see it's now moved up to the top on that gauge. Once that gets moved, we catch the wind again, and the mill continues milling. And there are some of the results. Wheat turns into wheat flour, another essential cooking material. This mini game here is the crusher. It's not so much a mini game as it is just a fun activity. It is literally a crusher. You pulverize things in this machine. We're going to do some olives, throw those in there, and see what happens. Crush them up good, and it produces olive oil, another cooking material or something that you might be able to trade or sell into the various towns. Moving right along, we are going to go into the Foundry. This is another very large structure. This one is more wide than it is tall. You'll have to contend with that when you're managing your space. So with the Foundry, you select a metal that you want to smelt, basically, And then you also have to make sure that the furnace is loaded up with coal. Once you have your fuel for the fire and the material that you want to work with in, you'll notice that the gauge in the middle will have a specific area that it wants you to be in for temperature. You need to balance the bellows. As you can see, each bellow push will move that black needle a little farther up. You want to make sure it's right in that area where it flashes green. And then you have to keep it in that area to raise that center temperature gauge all the way to the top to get to your ideal temperature for whatever metal you're working with. If you go past it, as you see right there, you have to start all over again. The logistics of the foundry are relatively simple, but executing them can be tricky. You have to be patient, and you have to be mindful of where that needle is. It's very hard not to overstep your bounds and have to reset and start all over again. The purpose of the foundry is to take the minerals that you've been mining throughout the Spritfarer world and convert them into ingots. Once the requirements of temperature and time have been met, you'll see your metal is dispersed to you. Later in the game, you're able to create the Smithy. And one of the things that you can do with your ingots is to take them to the smithy and create sheets out of them. Simply place the ingots desired into the smithy furnace and it'll spit out this glowing orb. Stella then converts her Everlight into this mallet hammer to knock down. The mechanism is very similar to the mini game of mining. You press and hold it and then release the action button at the desired time, making sure not to turn it too much into red, otherwise you'll have to start over again. That being said, you do have to give these things quite a few whacks before they're ready. And when they are, a little water to cool them off, and you've got yourself a sheet. Well, that just about does it for this video here. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. It's been a lot of fun doing these chores. I hope you guys have a chance to check out Spritfarer. If you're unsure, I left a link to the teaser that I did a little bit earlier. So, with that, we're out. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to give a like and subscribe if you enjoyed it. It helps keep us going. We'll see you soon.